starting out, kind of picking up where we left off yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening. Just thought it was the type of performance we needed. Not necessarily perfect by any stretch. A lot of things we can continue to improve on and do better as a team. But as far as three phases, finding a way in a tough road environment to play complementary football and find our second win in the division, both of them being on the road, is always a real positive thing, and kind of how we did it from talking about what we thought it would take to win the game and seeing those things come to life along the line of scrimmage. Looking at the blocked field goal as a critical play in the game that it feeds right into the turnover stat. And then I thought, the return game, even though we had the touchdown called back, there were still some massive plays to flip the field, give us short fields, which we were able to do something with on offense. And then defensively, just, watching the tape, it felt like it on the field, but watching it back and seeing the physicality that they played with and some of the core principles that we've really tried to improve on as the season has gone on. Ended up with 10 TFLs, just kind of some negative causing plays to make them play in less comfortable downs and distances. I thought was critical. We've already turned the page where we've got a huge challenge this week coming to US Bank Stadium. I think Baltimore is one of the more talented teams in the National Football League. Tremendous respect for John and his staff there, what they do week in and week out. And obviously, like I said, very, very talented group. But we've got to try to find a way to carry the momentum of real work, real tangible improvement of our team that we saw over a period of time last week, and then had come to life to win a football game. Now we've reached the point in the season, we're into November, where I want to see consistency, and I want to see some of those principles continue to be something that are highlighted by our staff and our players each and every week. Just before I turn it over to you guys, just some news on injuries. Positive news early on Aaron Jones. He's sore, obviously, coming out of the game, but the evaluations have been pretty positive today. We'll see how he does throughout the week, but expecting him to be able to kind of hopefully ramp up his workload, and I'll give you guys an update as the week goes on. Really, Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, J.J. McCarthy, and Andrew Van Ginkel all came out in a really positive place health-wise coming out of the football game. And then just an update on Theo Jackson. He came in this morning with just some very mild symptoms, and we want to be safe there. So he'll go into the concussion protocol, and we'll see how he can progress throughout the week. But and then in addition to that, C.J. Ham should return to practice in a limited capacity and see how he does throughout the week. And then Josh Oliver will begin working his way back on the side field with the trainers on the rehab field. And Ryan Kelly will also begin kind of some of that side field work. Don't really have an update at this time of opening his window or anything like that, but want to get him started. He seems to be in a good place and want to kind of see the next part of that process begin.
Kevin, with JJ yesterday, a good game. If he were to have to come out of a game early on, would it be Max? And what are kind of the pros and cons as to his stage as far as being able to come in and play?
Yeah. We only had the two up. We had kind of an emergency plan that would go a couple different routes. But yeah, Max is, to me, he's on his own kind of quarterback progression. But Max is here for a reason. He made our team because we really see some upside for Max, and he's been able to grow throughout the season. And I know he prepares, as if he is one snap away, even when he wasn't. And now he is. So the preparation is real, and I think the confidence level of the guys, just by what they've seen from Max, both running the scout team or reps he's gotten with the group throughout the season, I think the confidence level would be really high in Max. I know my confidence level would be very, very high in Max, knowing he's a young player, knowing it would be his first real opportunity of, he got in the game obviously late against the Bengals, but I would have a lot of confidence in Max, and certainly I know Max most importantly feels the same way.
Kevin, what are the kind of main keys in your mind to repeating that success in the running game over the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think it's, sometimes as you get further and further away from training camp, I think sometimes scheme becomes too much of the conversation when the starting point should always be offensively. There was a very loud environment, but even with the silent cadence, I thought we were able to get off the football and get into blocks and get the proper body position and technique and fundamentals. But there was an element of play style and kind of physicality that needed to be found. And I thought we did those things. They did some things. They played a lot of base defense to 11 personnel. Kind of can limit your run menu at times, but we found different ways to try to get the ball in open spaces. And when we needed to get it downhill, we were able to do that. And I think the same thing goes for the defensive side. Scheme is something that's very important. You want to obviously have a good plan to kind of help the guys be in good positions, but it's still about knockback. It's still about defeating blocks, setting edges. And then I thought our tackling, there was many times when you're watching the tape, you see, the first defender arrive, and then there's 3, 4, 5 purple hats showing up quickly, and kind of vice versa on offense. You felt a lot of purple hats finishing at the football and down the field, and even if it was a 3, 4, 5 yard gain, you just felt like there was some playing happening on their side of the line of scrimmage, which I think is critical against what's really one of the more physical teams in football. And we've got another one coming to US Bank Stadium this week, so it's going to be an absolute challenge for our group on both sides.
Kevin, I think yesterday was the first time since you've become the head coach that you guys have played with a lead at Ford Field.
Really? Yeah.
How much does that change things against that team and just for you as a play caller when you're able to play from in front?
Yeah, I think, especially, with it being JJ's third start, I think it just helped mitigate, some potential risk in some areas where it just felt like throughout the game, what it's always felt like, especially at Ford Field, is when they get momentum at different times, it normally stacks and kind of feels like an avalanche at times, that unless you make a significant explosive play or an individual effort play in any of the 1-3 phases, you kind of always feel like you are playing catch-up. It's good to know we actually were, in most cases, playing catch-up. But I thought the big moment of, they obviously go down the field and score, we're able to get the return and put the ball in the end zone for that immediate response. And then you see the defense go out and get a stop, and then we go score again. And kind of felt like from that point forward, it allowed me to make some decisions regarding field position. I thought that was a critical part in the game, where maybe, in earlier games or other games, previous seasons, you feel like you have to go for some of those 4th and 3s at midfield. Instead, we were able to execute some sky punts and get them backed up, and outside of really one drive there in the second quarter, we really played with the field position advantage on our side for a good chunk of that game, and we're able to get stops, then at least drive and get points when we needed to. Would have loved to punch it in there at the end, but it was important to make sure we made that at worst a 10-point game in that moment. So I think it all plays into it, Ben, and I think it's a great point. And how you have to play against really good football teams is you have to try to continue to kind of progress onward, and it's easier to do that where you're not having to chase anything. And then I just thought there were some timely plays. We got into some second and longs, whether it was the Jordan Addison jet sweep, what I now know was a rush for Aaron Jones on the swing pass, got ruled a rushing attempt. But just little plays like that where I thought, not super high-level football of needing to hold it in the pocket to get yards back and possibly risk more negative football, but just really good execution on some things that we got to kind of flip the D&Ds right back in our favor.
Kevin, are you feeling a need at all to add to the quarterback room here this week, or with the trade deadline? Are you feeling pretty set at that spot?
Yeah, I think with bringing John in, it was something where we wanted to make sure we had a third guy in the room, a guy I know very well. He immediately picked up right where I remember being with John. Super smart, has a pretty high level of quickness and athleticism, quick twitch, for a release and kind of a tight window thrower kind of guy that can, activate a lot of different throw types. And he's got experience, understanding kind of how our pass offense works and how we want to operate. So as he said, he's the old man in the room now. And I think that's important for two young guys that are incredibly close, JJ and Max, and they're always working together. But to have that third guy in there with Josh and Jordan, I feel pretty comfortable with that room right now. You would love to find a way at some point maybe to get John up on the roster to take advantage of the emergency quarterback on game day. It's obviously something that's difficult when that player is on your practice squad and you don't get the advantage of the 49th spot on game day. So that's obviously something we're always trying to work through. But as we've been able to get a little bit more healthy around the rest of our football team, it might be easier said than done in the short term, but something we'll be taking a look at for sure.
Kevin gave Dave balls to Davon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen. Just how important were the contributions that they made yesterday?
Yeah, I think, those two guys, just the feeling that you got, when they were, I thought, making early down contributions with physicality and knockback, and just you felt them. And then they were big as far as getting Jared off the spot, even when they were able to have a hat on a hat and they were trying to get the ball downfield, or they were trying to get some of those explosive plays that they've kind of made very much, their calling card over the years. Those guys were able to kind of have disruption that I think was felt for 4 quarters. I think Jalen Redmond also played another really good football game. He was playing a little defensive end in some of those groupings with Van Ginkel that made it pretty difficult to run to that side, to those strong side kind of runs. And then, Jonathan Grenard, I thought, was disruptive again. He's so close on a couple of those plays, specifically the one that they got. Jared got out of that Houdini-like and got the ball thrown to Montgomery, who then breaks the tackle, and what ended up being a significant play early on there for them to find a way to score, could have very easily been a sack, and we're taking advantage of, momentum on that drive. So a lot of names. Obviously, the 2 linebackers were significant. I thought Gink being back just provides such a unbelievable presence in there, football IQ, communication. Pair that with what Harry and Metellus do on the back end at the safety spot. It felt good to have that group back together.
Kevin, as you were putting the pressure package together, did you guys think at all about the benefit of keeping Jahmyr Gibbs in pass protection, making it so he can't get out versus the receiver?
Yeah, you would much prefer him blocking than being a major weapon in the pass game. And they can still find ways to do that, free release him, use other players, tight ends, or being 2-back, possibly formation. So although you want to try to keep him in there as best you can, and he's still a very solid pass protector, very willing and able, and historically has done a pretty good job at that. We did want to try to limit his ability in the pass game to impact the game, because he is as impactful as any running back in the National Football League when he gets the ball in his hands in space. And taking away some of those plays did seem to kind of help us then obviously worry about, the weapons they have at the receiver position, and Laporte is as dynamic as it gets. So it all works together, and I just thought flow and the plan the staff had, and then the way the players made it come to life was really good stuff.
How do you present your defense in practice of the Lamar Jackson look? Do you just have Max do it, or do you use other players?
I'm actually going to do it this week. Yeah, no, I'm going to lace him up, and figure that'll give him the best look at the athleticism that Lamar has. No, we've I'm sure we'll have. I think it's important, it might be a bunch of different players, from a standpoint. I think how Max and John take those reps at the quarterback position, where even if, JG wins on a rush and tags him off, or, Hargrave wins up the middle and tags him off, like, we're going to have those plays finish every single play, to the long past any whistle that I would blow, just to make sure the guys on the back end are, plastering in coverage and understanding that some of the big plays that they make, it's not how they were drawn up. But then, what I think Lamar has done at such a high level to become one of the best at the position in the NFL is make the throws in rhythm. accurately and finding the open guys, knowing exactly where he needs to have his feet and eyes set, and being accurate. I think there's a reason why he's an MVP caliber player and one of the best at the position in the league. It's not just the skill set to cause so many problems athletically. He's an elite thrower of the football, and he's really processing. So you've got to play total team, complete defense, discipline. The rush plan needs to be absolutely ironclad, and we've got to still find a way to get that early down knockback and defend the run with Derrick Henry and all the things that they present that way. So I think it's going to be a lot of guys. It might be some other players, non-quarterbacks, going in there. I don't know that yet. I just know it won't be me. No, it's probably something that I don't know if it definitely doesn't need to be a secret, because when Baltimore rolls into town, it's not a secret about who's playing quarterback for him and what he's capable of doing.
Not being able to present it in practice. I mean, his record against the NFC is obviously big.
Yeah.
They did lose to Detroit, but
yeah,
overall it's way up there. Does that have anything to do? I mean, these guys see him all the time.
Yeah.
On TV, is it just different to see what you see on TV and actually playing against it?
I think it is. I think it's different. I think, it's really kind of along the lines, albeit totally different, but like how teams that can be phenomenal in college football and then they play against a triple option team and you just don't see it a whole lot. With us, we have seen some, whether it's Jalen Hurts or even Justin Herbert, the movement that really impacted the game, either extending plays when the rush plan was good and it just didn't get home, or when we let some of those players out and either forward to use their legs or extending plays on the perimeter. So it's definitely something we've talked about, and we're going to have to be as good as we've been all season against this challenge for sure, Mark.
Last two. JJ said yesterday that he was happy with his performance, but not proud of the body of work. So how have you seen him self-evaluate post-game?
Yeah, I mean, he's hard on himself. He's hard on himself, and I think what we saw yesterday, there was some really, really good examples of some of the things we've been working on. When I think back to the throw to Jordan Addison for about 17 on the left side to about the 10-yard line. I mean, the calmness to his lower body, the base, the balance to that drop, and how effortless it seemed was something we've been really working on. And then he had some other reps. I thought the rep in the play pass came where he got moved to his left and threw a field shake route to Justin. I mean, up and over a defender with touch. I even loved the throw to Aaron Jones on the swing route. I mean, up and over, spinning pure, and just it felt like to me we saw some real progression from some of the things that we'd been really working on for a little bit of time. And then I think the importance of him being 100% healthy for the touchdown run on 3rd and 9. There's not very many folks in the league that are outrunning Anzalone to the corner there or getting around him to score. Some of the other plays he was able to make right, even when either in the noise, we went the wrong way, at the running back spot, or there were some plays that could have been catastrophically bad where you just kind of felt his full burst of his athleticism help not only him protect himself, but help the team continue to progress forward. Now, there's still times where it feels like if we can just simply not overanalyze possibly what might be out there for him and skip progressions, just take Justin on the out route early in a down, or just put the ball in play. I thought his first play pass attempt of the day, he checked the ball down to Aaron Jones on 1st down, and it's a positive play. Even if you can go back and hold the clicker and say, well, if you hang on this, maybe you have JA for a big one or whatever it is. I just thought there were some real elements of quarterback play, and then in the moments where maybe it got loose or we can tighten things up, that's what we're here for, and that's all part of the journey he's on, and it definitely helps to have one of his best reps of the day. I don't think it's an uncommon or an accidental circumstance for his best rep of the day, to be that final throw to Jalen Naylor. That's who J.J. McCarthy is, and my trust in him in that moment, knowing we're going to get one-on-one coverage, knowing we're going to get a chance there to put the game away, having learned kind of our lesson a little bit from a year ago in game number 1, made the play and won the game.
Yeah, just with 24 hours till the deadline, essentially, how active do you guys plan on doing?
Yeah, I think you're always having conversations, and Kwesi and his staff do a phenomenal job of just kind of gauging what possibilities may be out there, if there's a way to improve our team. Obviously, that's something we're going to have dialogue and collaborate about. But ultimately, it feels almost like just the way we've been able to get a little bit more healthy. It feels like, a lot of the players are in this building right now. They just are finally getting a chance to get out there with their teammates and play in the original intent of kind of what we hoped. But yeah, I think it's going to be something ongoing. I know those guys are making sure they're figuring out if there's anything that helps our team, and if we think it's smart, not only in the present but in the future, we'll have that dialogue.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.